This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Are you ready? It's time for your weekly dose of Wayne's Comics.
Welcome to episode 539 of the Wayne's Comics podcast. Thanks so much for listening. It's always a good idea to check in on the front lines every once in a while in the comics industry. So this week, I'm talking again with Dave Romeo, the owner and operator of Comics on the Green, one of the very best comic shops I've ever come across. Dave is both a retailer and a fan, so he can talk knowledgeably about the business as well as the creative aspects of the industry. We discuss how his store is doing, including their 30th anniversary going on right now, his perspective on how Marvel and DC are handling new changes this year, how Image is selling, what comics he's currently enjoying, and other comics-related subjects. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy what he has to say. There's a lot to get to in this episode, so let's get on with the show. It's always great to talk with Dave Romeo from the Comics on the Green store in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a guy who knows both sides of the table real well as a fan and as a business owner. So how you doing, Dave?
I'm doing fine, Wayne. Thanks for having me on. It's always nice to chat with you.
It's good to talk with you because there's so much going on in the industry right now. It's just a strange time. The news recently, well, I guess we'll start with Marvel because the big elephant in the room. They had a news article recently that Joe Quesada has left Marvel to go off and make movies. What did you think of that?
That was a little, I'm not surprised that he might be looking to do something different. He's been in the industry, almost 30 years or so as an artist, writer, editor, editor-in-chief, whatever. But I didn't picture him leaving for something like that. But, you and I briefly mentioned beforehand, like it's that siren call of film in Hollywood. And he's been around a lot of it now with the success of Marvel Studios. So maybe there's some sort of greener pasture there, or maybe just for a guy like him, hey, I've done it all in comics. I'd like another challenge, And I guess we'll see. I personally, I liked a lot of the stuff he did, but like everything, I thought some things maybe fell a little bit flat, but I did like his tenure overall. But I really kind of missed him as an artist. People tend to forget what a very good artist he is. Mm-hmm. And I would always hope that somebody like him would put a big stamp on some project, like with a major writer or something, like work on that. But I guess he feels he's done enough of that in the past with like Kevin Smith or maybe his little run on Spider-Man and things like that. But I'm going to kind of miss him as an artist. I'd rather see something like that than more film. But I guess we'll see.
Well, isn't Marvel a very different company now than when he took over? They were having real troubles back about, was it 12 years ago? They were having trouble selling shares and stuff like that for stock and things like that. And he took over and he provided, looks like, stability and some creativity to it. And now it's a whole different ballgame with the Marvel, cinematic universe, as well as the books. They're still the top of the heap, have been for a long time. They had a momentary blip when DC was in there back at the New 52, but now Marvel is continuing to. And that leads me to ask you a question. I'm just kind of curious because Disney Plus right now is doing so many shows based on Marvel characters, and we just had the Doctor Strange movie and stuff. Do you, as a store owner, and I realize we're just talking about your individual store as opposed to the whole industry, have you noticed any kind of a blip or uptick when, like, let's say Moon Knight comes on Disney Plus? Do you see any up in sales as far as the comics go?
Oh, we absolutely do. 100% we do. It really started back with WandaVision. As much as she was an integral character in the movies and everything, nobody paid her a lot of attention. Nobody talked about it a lot. WandaVision came out. It blew everybody away, and all of a sudden we couldn't keep Scarlet Witch and Vision and related graphic novels in stock. Then it happened with Hawkeye. And we still continue to sell a lot of Hawkeye. We still continue to sell a lot of Scarlet Witch. Moon Knight definitely right now. Again, since he's the current flavor of the month, and well worth it too. By the way, I'm not saying that to be sarcastic or anything, but we're selling a lot of Moon Knight trade paperbacks from previous works. Of course, the new series is doing very well, and the first storyline of that's in paperback, and we can't keep that in stock. Saw a little bit of an uptick with Loki. Even though people seem to like Loki, there wasn't a lot of stuff available at the time either. Marvel didn't really have a lot, available for stores to have. Then they did come out with some things, and we've seen an uptick. But the shows definitely have done their job, and we are still selling stuff based on these characters that no one cared about. Let's face it, no one's ever asked about Hawkeye or Scarlet Witch or Moon Knight in years, or if they were just hardcore fans, you know. So it is nice to see, and it's people of all ages, too. I just want to say it's a wide demographic. See a lot of young women who are really into the Scarlet Witch, who also like Loki, too, by the way. And Hawkeye brought in a wide demographic. Moon Knight tends to lean for us a little bit more toward the male audience, while the others tend to have a little bit of a wider reach. But overall, they've done wonders for sales. And we have a section out front when you first come in the store, basically movie and TV related things. And it's everything from, Stranger Things to Naomi to whatever is currently going on in movie and TV. We keep out there, and we're constantly restocking the Marvel product out there.
Wow, because the next one's supposed to be Ms. Marvel. I saw a trailer for that. So are you ordering more Ms. Marvels to help with that?
I will. I expect a little bit of a less response because I think that appeals to maybe like a smaller audience, maybe a younger audience, younger female audience. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we won't sell. I predict anyway. We won't sell as many of that as we did of the previous one. But it'll cause me to order more than I do have currently. So I'll definitely have to take that into consideration. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be surprised.
Now the line, of course, is blurred between video and comics and stuff. And I was interested. I think I saw where the main actor in the Moon Knight series is writing a comic as well. Did you know anything about that?
Oh, I feel like they did throw his name on something, or he's co-plotting something, but forgive me, I don't know that off the top of my head, but that sounds possible. It's probably something I even ordered already and forgot about because we ordered so far in advance. But I'm afraid I don't have all the info on that one. Right? Well,
that's okay because I think I can't remember his name, Oscar Isaacs or something like that, or maybe I got it backwards or something. But I was trying to figure out if he's a comics fan or what the story is with that because I'm fascinated. Actors tend not to do those things, but nowadays, of course, we had in the Batman movie, there's the guy who played the Riddler was writing a DC comic.
Yeah.
So, all these actors and stuff, I guess they see, hey, there's another chance to dip into the till, so they're good, and they like to write. Some people like to create stories and stuff like that. So
sure. Kind of and especially when it comes to actors and things like that, a lot of times they don't get a chance to write and they're not writing any screenplays that anybody wants to read and things like that. So maybe they have some ideas, and, Marvel comes and say, hey, maybe we'll pair you up with an established writer, and we'll get you to iron out a plot or a script if you have an idea. And I think that's a way for them to express themselves in ways they don't normally, and especially if they appreciate the format, if they appreciate the art form of comics. So that doesn't surprise me. I'd like to see more of them do it. But again, writing comics isn't just like just jotting down things on a piece of paper either. So it's easy. It's not easy. I have nothing but the utmost respect for our writers out there, because I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Well, I've seen the writing process firsthand. I saw. I was helping edit a comic, and I got to see the script as every page would come my way. I would look at it, and I would try to, they didn't tell me the whole story because they wanted to get my reaction when I read it. And that was a great thing to do. I appreciated not knowing the whole story, because I could give them honest feedback. Right? Ooh, I didn't expect that, or something like that.
Right.
Which is great. And so a lot of writers do that kind of stuff, which is great. But I'm just kind of curious, though. Is back to the movies. I mean, the Doctor Strange movie just has been out. Have you seen the movie, or has that impacted the sales of the comics with him?
Yeah, to an extent. Like, I definitely, most of our customers, I really enjoyed it, first of all. And I'd say that 99% of our customers really enjoyed it, maybe saw it even multiple times in theaters. Because there's no real proper Doctor Strange out comic right now, the comic that's out right now called Strange is actually, spoiler alert, his girlfriend Clea from another dimension who's taken over for him because he's presumed dead. So people coming in off the Doctor Strange movie are actually more excited about the Scarlet Witch again. And they're enthused about Doctor Strange, but unfortunately there's only so much in trade paperback that's available right now, which is a failure a little bit on the publisher's part. Also, there are paper shortages and manpower shortages, and I understand that. But yeah, I can't really point them to a Strange comic right now because he's not around. He's presumed dead. I'm sure he'll get better. But yeah, but there's definitely interest. And I remember even in the first movie, once he came out, there was definitely more interest generated. But with this one, it seems like it's more focused on the Scarlet Witch again, bringing her back to the forefront and igniting that interest in her again.
Well, I think they did a good job of picking, like Benedict Cumberbatch, to be Doctor Strange. He was very popular as an actor with Sherlock and stuff like that. And then too, you've got we talked about Moon Knight. Ethan Hawke, I think, is the bad guy in there, and he's a popular actor too. So Marvel does a great job. And of course, that goes through. I'm sure going through Disney is not a problem with that either, because that gives them a chance to really trot the good people out.
Yeah, I mean, their casting has been spot on. Whoever their casting people are, should get raises, because I don't know who's been passed over for these parts. All I know is every part that they've cast, it seems like it's been spot on, and I think they don't get enough credit almost. We give all the credit to the actors in Disney, but kudos to those casting people. They just nail it every time, it seems.
Now, what about, I think Spider-Man is still the biggest guy in Marvel. How's his books selling these days?
Well, the new relaunch that just started in April has definitely done well. I mean, Spider-Man's always done well. He's pretty much the bestseller every month. Sometimes he does better, sometimes he does, fewer, but overall sales have been consistent on him. And people definitely seem to like this current direction, where it seems like it's getting a little bit more back to basics. The last storyline, nothing against it, but we had more Ben Reilly clone stuff and everything. And they did something with Ben Reilly that was interesting for those who haven't read it. Maybe they want to check it out. But people are just kind of longing for, can we just have like Peter and Peter Parker's problems? And, we want to have new things, but we want to still have that core of what makes Peter. He's I always said he's the Charlie Brown of the Marvel universe. Just when you give him something, you have to take it away and maybe keep him a little bit more street level. I don't know that he should be having big cosmic adventures all the time and everything. So sales right now on the new relaunch are better than where it was at the previous incarnation. So he's doing well, and there's always interest. Especially, younger people tend to gravitate towards Spider-Man first when they come around. He seems to be the guy that they like the most. So it's good to see that.
But is that why they treat Ben Reilly so terribly? I mean, I wrote a column that I said please leave Ben Reilly alone, because he always ends up being the bad guy. I mean, what does that say about Peter Parker if his brother of sorts is every time we see him, he ends up being a bad guy? And I'm always like, please because I like the character. I like the fact that he chose Ben Reilly as a name. I like the fact that he's a fresh character, somebody we don't know anything about. But they still, spoiler alert, he's not going to be a good guy much longer, if at all.
Yeah.
So
something's going on there, people. Go and check it out.
Is it because of Peter Parker? Is it because they don't want any competition? I mean, they've got Silk and they've got Ghost Spider and they've got all these other Spider characters. What is it about Ben Reilly that they keep beating the tar out of him all the time?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, without giving too much away what's going on with his character, I kind of think you're kind of hitting on the head. Like, okay, we have a Spider-Man family, so he's becoming less and less unique, and then you pour more things on it. But maybe if you could take one of these characters that's, kind of loved, he's kind of a cult character, cult favorite, Ben Reilly, maybe do something with him to make him more interesting, and he doesn't take away from Peter now. So when he shows up, it's an event, and it's not just, it's Peter's clone, and he has lighter hair and works for a company and stuff like that. So, yeah, you might be right about that. Let's make Peter a little more unique, even though he's surrounded by people with all his powers just like him.
Yeah, I liked Ben Reilly so much because you've got decades and decades of Peter Parker stories being told, and like the X-Men, it's a little hard to keep up with all the continuity for that. And so I kind of like Ben because here's my chance to jump on and read stories.
Right.
And meet new characters and stuff like that, so I kind of like that. But
right, and he didn't have some of the hang-ups that Peter had either, because he didn't have a lot of those life experiences that Peter had. In fact, one thing I remember going way back to the Clone Saga of the 90s was when Ben Reilly encountered Venom for the first time. And Venom, because the symbiote was bonded with Peter, they share a bond, and then Venom, it kind of freaks Peter out a little bit. He's always a little bit on edge around Venom. When he encountered Ben Reilly's like, "You don't scare me, bud. Like, you're just another punk to me," And so when they had their little throwdown and everything, it was kind of fun because Venom was expecting somebody like Peter, and Ben's like, "Nope, I have no connection to this guy. I'm not scared of you. I'm not afraid of you. I don't know what you can do, but I think I could take you." And I thought that was a really good indication of one of the differences. Yeah, he doesn't have the life experiences and the things that Peter went through, so he is a little bit fresher, and I like that. I like that about the time.
I did too. I tend to, when Ben Reilly's around, I buy those books. I'm not that much of a Spider-Man fan just because I am. We're going to shift over to DC in a second. I'm a DC guy much more.
Right, I remember that.
I like iconic characters. I like people who are bigger than life. I mean, Peter Parker's always he's trying to avoid his landlord because he can't pay the rent and all those kinds of things. If I want that stuff, I can do real life. So I experience those things. I don't need somebody in the comics to do that. So that's just that's why I gravitate more.
Sure, I understand.
Maybe can I ask you one thing? I don't know if you're going to know this or not. What is going on with the Black Knight? His daughter was in the armor for a while. And now he's in Savage Avengers, and I'm not quite sure because he's my favorite Marvel character.
Right. I actually don't know. Wayne, I read Savage Avengers, and of course he just popped up in the newest book, and they've been since the Eternals and everything. They've been kind of sprinkling him around the Marvel universe and everything. But I don't know where his history has taken him over the past probably decade or so. So forgive me on that one. But yeah, I don't know what his status is. He just shows up. I'm like, okay, I remember him. I read the Avengers back in the day. I always kind of liked him and everything, but I honestly don't know.
Because I picked up one of the books that had him in it, and his daughter was there. And it was sort of a Batman Beyond setup. He was kind of advising the daughter on what to do and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was like, and now, of course, we get to Savage Avengers, and he's back in the armor, no sign of the daughter. So, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard. When you get a character that's a B or C level like he is, probably a D, it's harder to keep track of them because things happen in different books with a character like that when he doesn't have his own title. So
right, they're a lot more. Even if he's popped up in film, like they have pretty much free reign, I guess, to do whatever they want with him. The shame of it is, he is like you said, a B-lister, C-lister, maybe D-lister even. So why not focus on him? I guess they feel that maybe bringing in a daughter will make him fresher, but I don't know that helps his character at all. If she's interesting, great. I have no problem with that, but yeah, it seems like an odd choice for that character.
Well, where'd she go? I mean, he's in Savage Avengers and she's gone. And I'm like, well, what happened? But, it's hard. You really have to buy pretty much all the Marvels to keep up with all the stuff that's going on with the characters. And that's hard.
I remember I remember back in the day when they would, say, like, they show the Black Knight appear, and then they would say, like, this story takes place between, Avengers 56 and 57, so it kind of tells you. Nowadays, they're just like, whatever. If you know what's going on, great. You'll figure it out. Right now, he's going to fight Conan. He's going to encounter Weapon H, and we're going to go on our way here. So,
I like the character. I always have. I don't know what it is about a guy that's just trying to redeem himself that appealed to me way back when Roy Thomas was creating him and stuff like that. Still a great writer in my estimation. I'm sorry he doesn't get much work, but
he's of that age where I'm sure he works on the Alter Ego magazine and stuff like that, and he's no young fella anymore. But I did see his name on. They're rebooting X-Men Legends, and X-Men Legends is the book that takes place like in the past anywhere. For a while there, it took place like, hey, these are stories that take place in the 90s, and then we brought in Walt Simonson and Louise, and he did some stories from that time period. And Roy is actually going to be writing the first story arc out in August, where it takes place, I think, between his run there with Neil Adams in the 60s and before Giant Size X-Men. So I guess Roy has a couple stories to tell since Marvel approached him. So you will see his name on some books coming up. So there's a little tidbit for everybody.
I have to get that book.
I'm interested in it. I definitely am.
Okay, now let's switch over to DC for a little bit. And talk about stuff going on. There's the whole company has been sold. Is it Warner Brothers Discovery now? Is that the title of it?
I think that's I
think that's it. And of course, the trick is there's all this shifting going on, like with the CW. They canceled a whole bunch of DC-related shows. Black Lightning's gone. Arrow's gone, although they're saying that Stephen Amell might show up in a show or two. But all these shows disappeared, and there was worry that all of them were going to go because they were trying to sell the CW to somebody else. And I haven't heard anything about it. They came out with the schedule for the fall, but a lot of their shows are not coming until January. So I know the pandemic has really wrecked a whole bunch of schedules and stuff like that. I was just kind of curious about what you thought about the comic that is related to the CW shows.
They, with the exception of when the Flash was out a few years ago, with that 0 year or Flash year one or something like that, it was called. That one did well, but traditionally they don't do well. People, they watch the shows, they like the shows. Of course, there's the current one out right now. And they just don't sell. There just doesn't seem to be that appeal. I don't know why. They usually put some quality people on. You could flip through them and see it's nice stories and art in there. But it just seems like never the two will meet. It seems like people watch the shows. They don't seem to care about reading. And I said the Flash was the only exception. Supergirl, they tried. We thought, hey, well, there'd probably be a lot of young people that would like Supergirl. And it didn't sell. And Naomi has not really sold for us with the new series, with the show out. And it's unfortunate, but it applies to kind of everything. Even Green Arrow never saw an uptick, really, when the show was on. There was some interest in him, but then we would point readers, to some of the classic Green Arrow stuff that was available in trade paperback. So even though it wasn't quite like the show, they were still enjoying the character. But yeah, overall, doesn't really affect sales at all. Not at all.
That's too bad, because I like the shows. I finally caught up on Batwoman. I was behind on that like crazy, but I finally caught up on it, and now it's gone.
And now it's gone. I think if I had to predict what's been going on, and I don't think you have to be any kind of major, business mind to figure this out, but in all the streaming, with all the streaming services out there and cable companies and everything, they're all competing and trying to just gobble up product and put product out there. And I think what's happened is, as we're seeing with Netflix right now, they're cutting back on projects. And I think there's been a lot of overspending. There was some growth there. Everybody got carried away. Everybody's in competition for your dollar for that streaming service or for cable. And I think everybody just went a little overboard. And let's face it, with superhero stuff especially, and anything, they tend to have a larger budget because they deal with special effects and more costuming and things like that. And I think it was just too much. I think I don't say we've hit like a threshold, because certainly Marvel and Disney have enough money to keep doing what they're doing. But I think everybody else, you're going to see them dialing back a little bit. and saying, okay, what's our return on our investment here? What are we really getting? What have we been getting?
Mm-hmm.
And, you might just even get better product if they scale it back. But I think, if I had to guess, that's what's happening. Let's face it, these shows were great revenue producers, and they would keep them going, but something's there. And like you said, they're also trying to cut costs. Maybe if they're trying to sell off things in pieces, that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to guess, I think there's been a lot of overspending going on, and it's caught up to everybody.
I think, too, the novelty is kind of worn off. When the first Avengers movie came out, I would hear people, I go to the grocery store and I hear guys talking to each other saying, we have never seen these guys on the big screen before, and now we're going to get to see it. Well, now, that's about 10 years ago, and now everybody's kind of like, well, we saw that already.
Yeah, the saturation point happens, and it's kind of like, well, like I've seen, and it has to be quality too. And for people who maybe are fans of the Marvel movies, maybe they're not a fan of the television series, because even though they do a nice job on these TV series, it's not quite the quality that maybe Disney Plus puts into their Star Wars product and their Marvel product, and people still have enough time. Let's face it. I think more than ever, you've probably had these conversations with people too, where there's just so much out there. You even mentioned you were behind on watching Batwoman, and people come to me, did you see this yet? Did you see that yet? I'm like, I want to, but there aren't enough hours in the day. And I'd like to do other things too. But yes, I haven't seen Obi-Wan yet, and I'm looking forward to that. I haven't seen the Batman movie yet, because I don't know when I'm going to sit down and watch a 3.5 hour movie.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen the Eternals yet, so I've been kind of picky about what I'm taking, but given enough time, I'll watch everything. But I think like you said, we're running into that too. There's just not enough hours in the day for all this product.
You mentioned something I think that we should talk a little bit about, and that's DC's fixation with Batman. I mean, they make so many books now, one-shots and miniseries, and they just announced like Batman, the one where they're having a one bad day, I think it's called, and they've got all these other ones going on, and they got Chip Zdarsky now on Batman, and I'm kind of like, they should not call it DC anymore, but BC, Batman Comics, because that's
Batman Comics. Yeah,
that's largely all it is.
I think somebody did, like, a lot of times when we get the new books for the week, we'll count and we'll say, well, how many of these are Batman related titles? And on an average week, Batman makes up about 60 to 67% of their entire production. But the thing of it is, and I was told this, Wayne, even 30 plus years ago, before I even had my store, we were at a Diamond Comics seminar, and there were some DC people there, and mostly people in licensing and advertising. It wasn't like, there were big name writers and artists there at the time. But I was talking to a woman whose name escapes me. I'm sure she's no longer with the company. It's been so long already. But she basically said, even back then, when I was talking about, Batman gets all the attention, Batman gets all the in-house ads, Batman gets all this and that, and I would like to see them, try to promote other things, especially when they have in-house advertising. Of course, advertising dollars were especially bigger back then in comics than they are now. I'm not even sure how much advertising they even get in comics anymore. But she gave me a number, something like, they know that if they put a Batman, ad in something, or they promote a Batman product, they get something like 8 times their return on that ad, as opposed to putting in an ad for the new Blue Beetle Booster Gold miniseries or something. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So they know that. I mean, Batman butters their bread. We know from sales at the shop, even a low-level Batman miniseries by nobody will still outsell One Star Squadron, Blue and Gold, Nubia, you name any number of things that aren't Batman related. And he's very popular for a reason. Fans don't seem to get enough of him. And DC's just giving people what they want. They're like, hey, we gave you a Mr. Miracle miniseries, nobody bought it. Hey, we gave you Blue and Gold, nobody really bought it. We gave you, these little things here and there. We do all these Aquaman miniseries. They do okay, but they don't sell very well. Put out a Batman, and it's a better return. It's just a much better return. And they have to go with it. They've tried. I feel like maybe if they put more effort into some other ones and didn't saturate the market with 70% Batman product, maybe people would pick up an extra Aquaman miniseries, or they would pick up something else. But given the choice, they'll pick up a Nightwing or a Robin or a Batman before they pick up just about anything else. So,
do you have an idea why that is? I mean, is it because he's more relatable? I always fuss about Superman.
Batman's just cool.
Mm-hmm. Always.
I mean, there's something. I mean, no matter who it is, whether you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan, like people love Batman. Visually, he's cool. Mm-hmm. It seems to bring out a lot of like the best in writers and artists too. And it's like an intangible thing, Wayne. You can't even really define it. It's like Batman is cool. He's a creature of the night. He is a little bit more relatable, of course, because, he doesn't have powers of, he can't talk to fish and he can't, fire lasers out of his eyes. Mm-hmm. Even though he's got this family of, people, he's not much of a loner because he's got one of the biggest, supporting cast of pretty much anybody. Mm-hmm. He can't be too much of a loner, but I think he's just a cool factor visually, creature of the night. We like the dark. The dark is more interesting to us than the light, than Superman is, kind of thing, to make a comparison there. And it's just always, it's been that way at least since the 1980s. Mm-hmm. It's definitely since at least Dark Knight Returns, at least since the first Batman 1989 movie. Mm-hmm. Before that, I'd say Superman and Batman were almost pretty close. Mm-hmm. And then Batman just ran away with it. And here we are, 40 years later, and he's still a king. Well, I remember the days when they almost canceled Detective Comics because the sales were so bad. And I was like, and now, of course, they said they were going to sleep on it over the weekend. And when they came back, they said, no, let's not do it. And now, of course, like I said, anything with Batman is just, I'm happy. I'm a Batman guy. Don't get me wrong. I love all that stuff. My biggest fear, it's going to be like, there are trends that happen in comics and the bubble bursts. And then the company is setting it's almost overnight these things happen, all of a sudden. Because I think like Wolverine was super hot for a long, long, long time. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that he wasn't in as many books as he used to be. Right. And he's not quite, and X-Men, even the mutants aren't quite what they used to be. That's why they went to Eternals, trying to build that up. So I worry that that's going to happen to Batman. And all of a sudden, one night, he's going to be like the Beanie Babies. I don't know. It's a little bit different with Batman. I see where you're going with this, because you can go back, especially, say, in the 90s when Ghost Rider was hot and he was everywhere, and the Punisher was hot, like you said, Wolverine and the X-Men. The problem is with those, first of all, they don't have 80 years of history, any of them, like Batman does. But the other thing is the companies, once those books floundered and there was some interest lost, they kind of abandoned them and they cut their loss and said, okay, it's 7 years later, nobody cares about Ghost Rider anymore, so just cancel the book. Not Batman, because Batman is still a $1 billion licensee for them. Batman is still their big seller, and his Batman family of books represent a lot. Where one character like a Ghost Rider, like a Wolverine or a Punisher, although they have staying power and everything, it's not quite the same. They don't represent as much revenue to the company all the time, like Batman does. Batman's the guy, And I think that's why. So they always put their money behind Batman. So if sales on Batman were slipping, rather than say, okay, we're going to cancel Batman, well, no, let's get a bigger creative team on it. Let's put some big artists on it. Let's put out some big miniseries. Let's draw some attention. Rather than forget them, they put more behind them, and I think that's the big difference. What's funny is there's a trend now in which Batman dies or disappears. If you get Catwoman, Lonely City, he's dead. And she's trying to get into the Batcave, and I really enjoyed that because I have never seen the character, without Batman in the shadows. And then, of course, now we've got Gotham Knights is supposed to show up on CW, and that's Batman is supposedly dead, and one of the guys from Supernatural is Harvey Dent, and they are supposedly, there's a trailer out for it. It's about 2 minutes long, tell you. That's a long trailer, and that is supposed to be coming, and they got all these different characters cast, and I'm just kind of curious that not only does Batman sell, but when he's not there, it sells. Yeah, well, the Batman family, just the looming specter of Batman in the background and everything, just the mystique is always there. And I think more and more as we've made more changes, and even recently we've opened up things to, the idea of a multiverse, even though you and I have known about the multiverse, since DC and the Flash got together the first time. But people are more accepting of these things. It's like, okay, it's just another Batman. He's not here, or he's this, a different one. And I think people are definitely more accepting that this isn't necessarily continuity. It's an alternate universe. It's a what-if type story, what-if type scenario. And everybody's okay with it as long as it's good. That's why the Black Label stuff does very well for DC, and why these shows can continue on. So we just like the Batman, the feeling. We like the whole idea of Gotham and all these weird characters, good guys and bad guys that inhabit it, and we can't get enough of them. And again, we're attracted to those darker things, and Batman and his characters are just cool. Speaking of darker things, the death of the Justice League.
How is that doing as far as, I guess the sales are going to do every time they kill off a character, that impacts the sales. It shoots up. But I keep hearing rumors that they're not really gone forever. And just like Superman, he came back after a while.
Right.
How do you think they're going to handle that? What do you think is going to go on with that?
Well, I mean, what they already did with this, of course, this was kind of an homage because it's been 30 years since the death of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why they did this as well. And they were getting ready to do a clean sweep and start this new Dark Crisis. So they were setting things up, for the rest of the year and what their big event is with Dark Crisis. So, yeah, I mean, do we believe that the Justice League is really dead? No. Do I believe that maybe they'll kill off a character or two, one of the lesser characters for a little while? Sure, but of course, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they'll be around. But I guess the whole story is how do we get there then? And then the whole thing behind Dark Crisis, it's going to be the journey of the legacy characters, the younger generation. It's okay. Well, our moms and dads and the big guns are gone. Like, we have to step up. Mm-hmm. And even in the first issue of this Justice League that came out this week, The Road to Dark Crisis, when young Jonathan Superman, comes to Nightwing, he's like, "You got to help us, man. The Justice League is dead. They're not dead. They're going to come back." Mm-hmm. And he just knows. Like, we know that too. I think he's speaking for us. Mm-hmm. But how are we going to get there? Mm-hmm. How will they be changed? And then the characters, of course, that are going to go on this journey to try to bring them back or find a way to beat the bad guy. How are they going to be changed by all this? Mm-hmm. And we'll see their character growth and their story arc happen. So that's the whole thing from it. Yeah, but maybe you will see a death or two that's not coming back, at least for a while. Nobody stays dead too long. We know that. But, sales have been really good. That the actual issue of the Death of the Justice League has done very, very well for us. We over-ordered a ton, and they're almost gone anyway. And so we'll see. Dark Crisis begins soon. The Road to Dark Crisis, the Prelude kind of came out this week. And, fans know. They just want to see it happen. Like, okay, we know they're not gonna be dead forever, but let's see how this goes. Mm-hmm. And then we'll get some cool moments, some good fights, and some character moments, and we'll see where. And then what I do expect, though, after all of this, is kind of maybe a relaunch of some titles, because basically, like, we don't have a Green Lantern book anymore. I mean, there's a lot of characters. Green Arrow may or may not be dead. There's a lot of characters that maybe we'll get after Dark Crisis. Or maybe we'll get a relaunch of Wonder Woman again or something. Who knows?
That'd be good.
But we'll see. We'll know by this, hopefully in the next 6 months we'll know a little bit more.
That'd be good. I don't like the Wonder Woman books as much as I did for a while there. They're kind of watering down as far as I'm concerned. But I like the character. But we'll see how that goes. So, anyway, okay, let's move on to like Image, because Image is somebody called it once the creator owned the Image, and it's true on many levels, because a lot of the books that they provide are not ongoing titles. They're like miniseries type of things, and yet that's what makes Image so popular with certain people, is the fact that they're that way. How is Image doing in your store these days?
Well, I mean, as a whole, they're still one of those companies that people look to. And they'll sort of like, there are definitely people who like more of the independent type comics. We do have people that they'll buy Batman and they'll buy something from Image or buy something from Boom Studios or whatever. But we definitely have an audience that couldn't care less about Batman or Spider-Man anymore. And they just want to read some cool fiction, whether it's horror, thriller, science fiction, true crime, whatever it is, fantasy. Image has all that, and they've kind of really done good carving a niche with that stuff. For the most part, it depends on the character. It depends on the creators. Well-known creators with maybe a decent history tend to sell better. So, your Jeff Lemire's and Scott Snyder's and guys like that, and Kirkman, and their books will sell more than a brand new guy. Or some brand new, a female writer, anything at all. Like, if you're a new name and you're trying to break an Image, good for you, because they chose your product. But it's a little bit harder to break in. And, But I do like the fact that they do offer a wide variety, because we do get a lot of customers that will be like, hey, what's something good that's not this or not that? And they want something. And we usually end up pointing them to something, usually from Image. And they're very important. Now, not everything hits either. I mean, for all the products that come out, a few of them get hit and a lot of them don't. A lot of them end up selling kind of poorly near the end, or maybe it's, people also like finite stuff too. They don't mind a long-going series. But we find that the fan that likes some of the indie stuff like that and the creator-owned things, they don't want necessarily a product that's going to go on forever and ever. They kind of like a nice little 6-issue story, a 12-issue story, or something they could buy in 3 volumes or something. Saga being the only one that's kind of the big exception to that. Can't get enough Saga, and that's been going on for a while. It just came back recently, too, after a 3-year hiatus. But, yeah, Saga's got the market for people that are really interested in superheroes.
It's interesting because they have Radiant Black, I think, now, and that's kind of that usually Image and Boom and all these other people avoid superheroes like the plague, but that's one that's actually done reasonably well. And there's Radiant Red, and there's a whole bunch of Radiants that are going on.
Or back in the day, Invincible too, being a big success story now because it's an animation. Although the series has been done, so they do dabble in superheroes. That's like kind of their version of superheroes. Like you're not going to get the same cookie cutter stuff you get with Justice League or the X-Men kind of thing. So yeah, they do keep superheroes around, but not too much.
Which is good. And they'll do crime dramas. They'll do supernatural. That's where Jeff Lemire is going to help out because he signed an exclusive with them now. So it's going to make my life a whole lot easier because I used to have to look at Dark Horse and everywhere. He'd be under every company that was coming out.
I know.
And I struggled.
He really is.
Oh, man. But the thing was that I could never be sure I'm getting them. I would say, get me everything Jeff Lemire does. And I'd go in and I'd say, what happened to this book? Oh, we didn't order that one. I hate that. Get me Jeff Lemire. I said, what's the problem with that?
We have plenty of Lemire fans in our store, and then they support his stuff. And again, he's one of those where if his name's on a product, whether it's at Dark Horse or Image or Boom or whatever, it will sell better than some unknown trying to break in with a new idea.
Which is funny because one of the things I like are indie books that are unknowns, but that are really good books, good stories told, and they're kind of tough to find. So I'm always experimenting and looking around, and that sounds interesting to me. Let me try that. The store where I buy, they tend to watch and see what it is I'm ordering, and then they order a couple extras just in case there might be somebody else that wants something along those lines.
If one person buys it or two, then maybe you could sell 3, maybe you could sell 4.
That's a good thing about that. So, besides, you talked about Boom and stuff. I like The Killer, and I bought that one from you. I was missing. I couldn't find it. I got that one from you, and I like that series a lot because it's so different. Are there other books that from Boom, because they're bringing Wind back, which I just got into, which is you talk about another name, James Tynion the Fourth. He's a big guy, and he's hard to follow.
He's enjoying a lot of success after. He's been a workhorse too. He's enjoying a lot of success now. Well deserved too.
But he's hard to follow.
Well, he's everywhere. He's like Chip Zdarsky. You'll find him at pretty much every company if you look around, pretty much. And I think that's good though. That's one thing that with Marvel and DC really offering these exclusive contracts, you get some of your favorite writers, and they get to go and do whatever they want, anywhere they want at this point, which I think is better for everybody, rather than locking somebody down into one company. I think Chip Zdarsky now is at, Marvel, DC, and his Image product. I mean, he's everywhere, and that's the way it should be, and he does good work. I like him, for instance. But going back to your question about Boom, of course, Something is Killing the Children is their best, I think their best-selling title, and they got a big success for us. They have their spin-off book, The House of Slaughter, which is the family of these monster killers, a little bit of background with them. I really love, and I think I might have even plugged it once before, Once and Future. And it's funny because Dan Mora, the artist of that, has become a big-time artist at DC. And I said a long time ago, this guy's good if they could keep him. But he's managed to do both. They just released a new one called Grimm, which I haven't tried yet. We just got more copies of it in. That looked kind of interesting. In fact, I think I'm doing Alex Never Asked. I forgive me if I don't, but there were some. They put out some good stuff. They don't have the large publishing thing like Image has, but they do. They pretty much attract the same type of customer, which is nice to see.
Now, there's the one guy that has 4 different titles from 4 different companies. Zach Kaplan is his name. He's got one from Dark Horse. He's got one from Vault. He's got one from Scout. And I think he's got one from Image. All 4 of those going at the same time. One of them is Metal Society. It's a robot versus human. Right. And then he's got the one where the teenagers are being Kidnapped by Aliens at Dark Horse, and then he's got a new one that hasn't come out yet. There's 2 new ones that come out, one from Scout, one from Vault.
Good.
So I like his writing. He's a science fiction writer, and so I am after his books. He's hard to get because he's in 4 different companies.
Right. You got to be on the lookout for him. You got to comb over the previous catalog or look him up on his. I'm sure he has a website or a blog or something where he can promote his stuff. So. Yep. Which is nice too. When a lot of times that's how we find out about stuff too. Maybe before it really hits the catalogs. The creators all have their own little domains and they're announcing stuff everywhere, and even stuff that they put out on like Substack and some of their little paper view type things. They eventually end up in physical form in comics, which is nice.
What do you think about Substack, by the way? I was going to ask about that because that's a thing that, it was launched and all these people like Tynan and these people were jumping on so they can make lots of money. And they have their own little emails that come out and stuff. But what's your assessment of its influence as far as like comics goes? I mean, is it a big deal?
I mean, I think it's a big deal for the creators. It is definitely a way for them to control their product from kind of start to finish, how they promote it, who they promote it to. You basically have it's like targeted audience. It's okay, well, these people have to subscribe, so I know that they will buy things, and they're here because for that. And I wish I knew a little bit more about it, but I think it is good for them, and I think it's a good way for them to even get out some products that maybe they don't want to release immediately to Image or Dark Horse or something like that. And as long as it allows them freedom and financially they can carry on and do this stuff, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't subscribe to any of them. I know that we have some customers and people have talked about, people who subscribe to and stuff, and then they go like, well, some of it's worth it, some of it isn't, because they have to keep generating content to keep you interested there every month too, not just sending out newsletters. So I feel like it's out there. It's not for me necessarily, but I think it keeps the creators involved. It's an extra revenue stream for them. Yeah, I mean, I like it, but you don't hear too much about it now like you did during its launch. But like everything, when it was new, everybody talked about it. Now it's a little bit quieter. But apparently they're still growing and doing things, and even more and more creators are jumping on and getting Substack, I don't know what you call it, contracts or whatever. So I think it's a good thing out there for that.
Well, it's interesting because in comics, every once in a while something starts up brand new. Loot Crate was a big deal for a while, and now I never hear anything about it.
No. I don't even know if Loot Crate even still exists. I don't even know if they even still exist. Like anything, I think initially when Substack was announced, it came out, everybody thought, oh, these creators are just going to abandon regular comics to do Substack. And then that has already proven to be very wrong. Like, they still need to print stuff. They still need to be, part. Like, some of them can enjoy, if they've already had quite a career, maybe they can enjoy to sit back and not put out a lot of stuff for other companies at this point and just do the Substack. But for the most part, all those guys, all of the creators, are pretty much still involved in print publications, and things are still coming out from them. So I'm not worried about it.
Well, I was just kind of curious to see, because everybody thinks the next big thing is going to be this, and it's going to revolutionize the industry. And I sit back, and a year later, I go, whatever happened to that?
Whatever happened to that? It's still print comic books. People are still printing comics. Digital has not taken over. Digital is a nice little supplement to everything. Yep, I think comic books are just such a unique animal. It's such a unique community. It's just a different art form than other things, and people can't really apply sometimes other things. Yes, there are definitely business practices that can be applied to it. Don't get me wrong, but it's a unique animal. It should be treated that way. It's not like other things, and it is nice to see guys like us who've been reading comics forever and a day, that we still can go get our print comics. And if we want digital too, or if somebody wants to experience it that way too, but there's room for all of it.
Well, I'll use digital if I can't find a paper copy. If I need to know, let's say that like the first issue of Killer, if I couldn't have found the paper copy, I bought a digital version so I could, when the second issue came out, I could still get that. So that's how what I use digital for. How do you collect a digital comic? There's some people coming up with new ideas on how to do it, but
yeah. I think the digital definitely applies to the person who's not much of as much a collector. You and I come from a different era when, like, that's what you did. You bought comics and you collected them. Then as more people, as the digital ages come about, you have people that are just readers. They don't want the clutter. They don't want the little white boxes piled up everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And we even have some customers who definitely will buy the monthly things, but like you said, if they miss an issue, they'll be like, I'll either find it on eBay. Like, if we can't get it for them, of course, we'll try whenever we can. But if we can't, they'll say, I'll go on eBay, or maybe I'll just read it I'll read it digitally. So to them, they don't care if they have issues 1, 2, 4, and 5, and they have to read it 3. It's a different type of mindset. It would drive me crazy, but it's a different kind of mindset,
Well, one thing I was sure was going to take over the comics industry were trade paperbacks. And I thought for a while people were going to go in like once every 6 months and pick up their trades and then not go in the store again for another 6 months. That hasn't worked out. I mean, there's one book, I get that once in future. I get the trades of that. But I don't get the, I can't say that. I just bought the latest issue. It just came out because I was there. I had some extra money, and I said, I'm going to get that.
Beautiful covers by Dan Moore. He hasn't done a bad cover on that book in years, but anyway.
So I got that so I can read that and keep up what's going on with it. But I'm just do you find the trades, are they a good supplement to the monthly issues, or are there some people still who buy only trades?
It's a little bit of both. We definitely have a large customer base that only buys trades. They're not interested in the new stuff. Now, when the new stuff comes out in monthly form, they're excited because it's like, I'll get that in trade or hardcover when it comes out. So they look forward to that. So the monthly excitement, they'll try to avoid spoilers and things, gets them to eventually they'll come in and say, did that come out in trade yet? Is that available yet? Can I get that? So there's definitely that. But we also have customers that do both. In fact, I think most of our customers definitely do both. There are guys and customers who collect everything that they want, but then there are books that's like, well, I'm not normally a thing. I don't really usually collect this book, but I heard about this and I'd like to try it. And so they're not concerned with getting the originals or keeping the run going. So, for us, the trade sales have been a huge boon over the years. We've always increased how many we carry. We sell more and more all the time. And, there's definitely an audience. Like I said, when people come in looking for Marvel product after a movie, I'm not trying to find individual issues of the Vision or Scarlet Witch or Hawkeye for them, but I've got a bunch of trades out here, all nice stories wrapped up all in one, and here you go. So,
since we're getting close on time here, are there other books or other things that you would like to recommend to people?
What am I reading recently? That's kind of different. It's a shame. I should have thought of this. I'm sorry, Wayne, before you called me. What am I reading lately that's a little bit different? When I talked to you last time, did I mention the book regarding the matter of Oswald's body? Did I mention that to you? Oh, that's a wonderful miniseries from Boom. And basically it's just historical fiction, and it doesn't have to do with did Lee Harvey Oswald kill President Kennedy? That story's been done to death, but is the person who was killed and buried, is that really Oswald? And basically you have this like sort of stalwart, sort of old school agent, and he puts together this ragtag team of people. And their job is to do something. I can't exactly tell you what, but it has to do with Lee Harvey Oswald's body. And it's wonderful. And if they should make something into a movie or a TV show, it would be this or a miniseries. And I loved it. Was it Christopher Cantwell wrote that? I feel terrible not knowing because it ended a few months ago. But regarding the matter of Oswald's body was terrific. But something fun and just a beautiful read is Scotty Young and Kyle Strom over at Image. They have a book now called Twig, which is a fun all-ages type fantasy done in like a Scotty Young sort of look. Kyle Strom's art is very similar to Scotty Young, and it's a beautiful book. And it's just all-ages fantasy. I read that, and I really like that book so far. Let me see what else has been. What's in the pile here that I read that's off the beaten path? I'll tell you what, as a bit of a strange thing, I'm a big Godzilla fan, and not every Godzilla comic is a ton of fun. But for just somebody who likes a fun crossover, Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is just a wonderful crossover. It's the crossover I didn't know I needed or wanted. I never watched the Power Rangers. I was too old by the time they came out. But that's a lot of fun. There's just a couple little tidbits there of things that I'm enjoying outside of the superhero realm right now.
Cool.
One of the areas that we've seen a lot of growth in the store, and we've even now have a whole section devoted to it and plus more stuff, is like the manga and anime stuff. for a long time, the manga was hard to get too. There's only so many. I mean, all those suppliers have them, but you can't always get volume 1 of something. You can't always. So people don't want to start with certain titles. But that's where we're bringing in a lot of younger people. Definitely, we're seeing growth in that, and we're carrying more figures now too. There's more stuff available in the States that's affordable. And kids come in and like, here's these figures. I don't even know who they are, Wayne. I don't know. I can't pronounce their names. I don't even know who they are, but they're like $25 a figure. They're from all these different popular manga and animes, and they sell well, and the books sell well. And that's where we're seeing like lots of young people coming in now because of that. So that's where we're seeing some growth.
Pretty cool.
And at the same time, they'll come in and they'll buy something and they'll buy a book like, I don't even know what the heck it is when they carry it. But while they're there, they'll look at a Batman.
Mm-hmm.
They'll look at a Spider-Man action figure. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a crossover. If you like comics, I think, there's always room for people to try something new, and whatever gets them in and gets them interested, I don't care.
That's the thing.
But,
That's the thing. Because stores for the longest time used to have, they would sell Beanie Babies, and they would sell computer software, and I would go to stores, and there was always something else that was going along with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's what it takes to get people in, I mean, Pokemon were big for a while.
Right. They're big again, but we only carry the packs at the register. I don't deal in singles. I don't deal, but it is a nice little impulse buy. And we have a father and son and another guy that come in every Saturday. The kid buys cards, but they bought action figures. They bought a couple comics while they're in there, but the kids are there for the Pokemon. So whatever it does, but the comics will always be our focus. We're never going to replace them with anything. It's just get the supplemental other stuff, little smoke and mirrors to get people in, As
long as it works, that's all I say. Okay, well, if people want to get in touch with your store, how do they do that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we're all over social media. Of course, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also revamped our website last year. I don't know if you ever saw that. We revamped that whole thing. We don't do any e-commerce over it, but you could reach us any number of ways. So it's www.comicsonthegreen.com, of course, and all our emails are on there. All the links are there, our phone number and everything. So we're all over the internet. If you just punch up Comics on the Green, you'll find us just about everywhere. And we were happy to help with any kind of questions, whether it has to do with, if you want to order something from us, or we offer grading services for CGC, or just if you have questions, stuff for sale, of course. We're always buying collections, too. We spent a lot of money last year buying a lot of big collections last year. So, we're doing very well. Actually, we're on our 30th anniversary right now, Wayne. If you can believe that.
Wow.
We started in October of 1992, so that's swiftly coming up here. We're hoping to get a couple little celebrations going in the works.
Cool.
And it's been a long, crazy ride.
That's
a good one.
That's rare for a store to be around that long. I'm gonna be honest with you. So that's great.
And every year has been better than the last. Honestly, we're coming off some of our best years right now, which is crazy to think, But onward and upward.
Great. Well, I hope it's even better as things move forward every year, because you're somebody that I can turn to if I'm looking for something, or if I'm looking for a referral. Like you're the one that sent me to Walking Dead way back when, and all those things. I always appreciate somebody I can say, what's good? What should I be buying? And you're always a good source for that. So I think that's really great. So, Dave, as always, it's terrific to talk with you. And man, I just hope things like I said, just get better and better for you every year. And downtown Scranton is one of my favorite places to go because your store is there.
Oh, well, thank you. It's also a very nice little downtown. It's a nice little place to walk around. Nice, safe downtown with a lot of restaurants and some sights to see. And but I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, we miss your trips. I know it's hard for you to get up here and everything. We miss your visits. We always had fun talking to you guys.
People need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy, and I can't do that as Bruce Wayne. As a man, from flesh and blood, I can be ignored, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol.
Get the latest from the comics universe. News, interviews, previews, and reviews. Listen to the weekly Wayne's Comics podcast so you can keep reading your comics.
And that's it for this week. Be back next time. We'll have another great interview with another terrific comics creator. But until then, keep reading your comics.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.